Welcome to episode 508 of the Outdoor Adventure Lifestyle Podcast. We're taking this week off and dropping another of our most popular episodes on you to kick off summer. This week features Joshua Schwartz and Travel Creel, the world's first premier adventure pop-up fishing lodge. Next week, we're back to our regular schedule with Cisco Guevara and Los Rios River Runners, New Mexico's original rafting company, guiding the rivers near Taos and Santa Fe since 1973.
And now, here's Rick.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today on episode 373 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, I'm talking with Travel Creel founder and chef Joshua Schwartz. And their goal is to combine world-class fishing destinations with comfortable accommodations and outstanding dining experiences. And if you don't think I'm going to find a way to get my crew on one of these adventures, you don't know me very well. Welcome to the show, Joshua.
Thanks for having me, Rick.
Yeah, I'm excited about this conversation because, fishing and food and cooking, how great is that going to be, right?
Man, it's been a great journey so far, and it's only getting better.
I can imagine. So let's begin with your career in fine dining. How'd you get into cooking?
So my grandfather owned a French bistro, so I kind of grew up in a restaurant as a kid, and he passed away when I was pretty young and didn't really know how to deal with his passing, didn't really understand grief. And everyone was really upset. My family, my mom, my dad, my sister were all upset. And I didn't really know what to do because I was feeling upset, but I didn't know how to deal with it. And my mom was like, everyone deals with grief differently. So you just need to choose what you want to do and how you want to deal with it. And I said, I'm just going to be a chef like Grandpa was.
Oh, cool.
And that was really, I set my sights on it and I never looked back. And I just started cooking professionally when I was around 14.
Wow.
And worked my way through kitchens, went to culinary school, and got into fine dining and started working my way up to fine dining. So the journey started very young for me.
Very cool. Was he a cook his entire life? And
he actually was in the military.
Yeah.
And he was on one of these ships going across the sea. He loves food and was standing in line for hours. By the time told me stories about he was standing in line for so long that by the time he got through the breakfast line, they were already serving lunch.
Oh, gee. Wow.
Yeah. And he realized if he knocked on the galley door and told them that he knew how to cook and told them he wanted to help, that he could probably get more food that way.
And earlier.
Yeah. And little did they know that they would throw him in a room and give him a knife and ask if he knew how to butcher. And he was like, yeah, sure. And kind of was forced into learning how to cut meat.
Learn on the fly.
But the good part is he said he ate really well, and every night he went back to his room with a pint of ice cream. So
nice.
he was real happy.
Yeah, pretty clever as well.
Yeah, and he worked his way up through the officers' clubs and ended up becoming an officer's chef.
Gotcha.
So that's really where he got into a little bit more refined cooking, and then he opened a catering company on Long Island. It was one of the first kosher catering kitchens operations on Long Island. It's still in operation. It's called Janadine. And that was his introduction. He loved France, wine. He loved cooking and drinking and eating, and traveled through France and came back and sold his catering business and opened a French bistro, which is a dream of his.
Wow, very cool. And you followed in his footsteps. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like one of those things that I started cooking pretty young. My parents put a knife in my hand around 7. My mom taught me how to make French onion soup, and it was pretty clear that it was in my blood. I kind of knew what to do.
Right. So tell us about your cooking career. You cooked at the French Laundry, Bouchon, and Per Se. Then
so I started cooking at 14 professionally and worked my way through some kind of local restaurants. And met a chef when I was around in high school he was an instructor at the New England Culinary Institute, and he worked for Thomas Keller at his original restaurant in New York called Raquel. And so he helped me get set up with going to the New England Culinary Institute, which is where I went to school in Vermont. Cool. And my first externship the way that school worked was you did 6 months at school, 6 months as an externship working in a professional kitchen, and then back to school for 6 months, and then back out in the field for 6 more months. And then you graduated. So my first externship was in New York working for David Boulay at the original Boulay on Duane and Houston. And that was my introduction into fine dining. And it was a pretty steep jump into it. I didn't get paid at first. I was in the basement chopping veal bones and picking thyme and chopping shallots for hours upon hours. And I would just push harder and harder, push myself on getting things done faster. And that got recognized by the sous chefs and the chef. And I was offered a position on the line. And I was pretty much one of the first externs that got paid.
Oh, wow.
And that was great. I didn't get paid much, but I got paid enough to pay my sister off for letting me stay in her apartment.
Gotcha.
She was going to NYU at the time. So
that sounds like a grind too, because you guys, I mean, from some of the books of you and Anthony Bourdain and whatnot, the start at the bottom is rugged.
It is, but it's one of those trades that's just the way it is.
Right.
Like you start at the bottom, you work your way up, and then you know what? When you leave a restaurant, a lot of times you start at the bottom again and have to work your way up again.
Prove yourself all over again, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not until you get into a position like of being a sous chef or a chef de partie, which means that you're running a station, like the meat station or the fish station. It's not until you get into that realm that you can make a lateral move from restaurant to restaurant.
Wow.
So it's, especially in fine dining, there's a hierarchy and you kind of need to follow the hierarchy. And then a great chef that I worked for, Jan Birnbaum, told me a long time ago, he said, when you make that move to being a sous chef, then you can't take a step back.
Oh, gotcha.
So always take a step forward.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you can take a step back, but he was saying don't take a step.
Oh, don't. Okay, yeah. So if you screw something up, they'll knock you down a notch.
Right, exactly. Once you make that move into being a sous chef, your next position needs to be a sous chef or a chef. You don't want to step back. So
of all those places that are on your list, was there a favorite or one you enjoyed the most?
I enjoyed every place that I worked. I would say my introduction into fine dining working at Boulay was such a great experience. I got to work in a French brigade kitchen, work with a bunch of people from France, see some pretty hectic services with people screaming at each other in French.
Wow.
And just some wild moments. And then Eric Clapton came in to eat one night.
Wow, cool.
I got to meet Eric Clapton. Jerry Garcia came in one night.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So there was he was the who's who in New York at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I got to see a lot of great stuff. But then, going back to school, and then going and working for Thomas Keller was an amazing experience as well. And I got to take all the skills that I learned in New York and apply that to working in California with Thomas. And he was an amazing mentor. And I learned a ton and worked my way up at the French Laundry. I worked pretty much every station in that kitchen, either once or twice. And then going from there to working up, that was a great experience.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the PhD of cooking.
Yeah, it really was. And working for Thomas for as long as I did, I really worked myself into a position where I did a lot of cleanup, where he would move me around and be like, hey, we need help. We need your help here. We need you to do this and we need to do that. And it was overwhelming at times, but also it's one of those things in growth as being a chef, being a cook, where you feel like you're like, wow, I'm doing really good. I kind of know what I'm doing here and things are going really well. And then 6 months go by and you look back and you're like, God, I knew nothing back then.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're constantly growing and learning. And that's one of the best parts of that industry is there's just so much to learn. And I tell all the guys that work for me now, if you're not learning, you're not living. And if you're not living and not learning, then you're doing something wrong.
So when did you have time to pick up fly fishing?
Oh, so when I was working, that's a fun story too. When I was working at the French Laundry, we started the project of Bouchon. And me and another chef friend, Jeff Cerciello, we were going to be the sous chefs at Bouchon. So we were helping with that project and everything was going really well, but it was kind of slow moving. Building a restaurant out and starting it from the ground up was slow moving. So we had a lot of free time. I mean, not a lot, but more than normal. And he asked me if I wanted to go up and go fish with him up on Hat Creek,
nice.
Which is beautiful.
Great spot.
Spring Creek. Yeah, great spot, Northern California. I had grown up fishing as a kid. My grandmother used to take me flounder fishing off the dock on Long Island.
Okay.
As a kid. And then we moved to Pennsylvania when I was a little bit older, and we had ponds on every corner, and I used to use my spin rod and catch bass left and right.
Right.
And that was kind of like a normal summer routine for me. So I loved fishing, but I'd never fly fished before. So here I am showing up at Hat Creek with my neoprene waders and my spin rod. And my buddy's like, what are you doing? Like, no, you can't be that guy. So his friend was at the time was a guide on the Owens, and he had met us over there. And he like opened up this bin and pulled out a pair of Gore-Tex waders.
Who was that? I live on the Owens practically.
Gosh, Ronnie. I don't remember Ronnie's last name.
Okay.
But yeah, he was like a part-time kind of just like a recreational, like,
gotcha.
Hey, I'm going to start taking people fishing kind of guy out there. And he outfitted me with my first pair of Gore-Tex waders and a fly rod and stuck me on a spot right down there at the Powerhouse Riff on Hat Creek, and I caught my first fish on a dry fly, and that was it.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. I mean, on the way home, I overdrew my bank account and bought a fly rod, a fly reel, waders, and boots at the fly shop in Reading.
Nice.
And remember it specifically because I overdrew my account.
Right.
But I was dead set on like, no, I'm going to keep doing this.
It's a great sport to participate in.
Yeah, and then that summer, like, we took another, like, we all mountain biked, and we took a mountain biking trip up to Tahoe. And I remember one day we were going to do the Crest Trail, and I was like, I'm going to take the day off from biking, and I'm going to go fishing. And I went out to the East Carson and set myself up with a bobber rig for the first time and caught my first subsurface on a fly rod on a flashback pheasant tail. And then I was just like, now I'm in it. So it was
very cool.
It was pretty awesome. And that was the beginning. And I fished as much as I could. I used to fish Puda Creek a bunch because that was like
I've heard about that
for us.
Yeah, never been there. Heard about it.
Yeah, so I fished Puda Creek a bunch, and then a couple of years later, I went on. Actually, what happened is I went to New York at that point and went to Per Se, and all my fly fishing gear went into a bin.
Oh wow.
And I was in the city, and I was grinding hard on my career again, and working in the kitchen and really not getting out. I mean, there wasn't very much opportunity that I knew of at that point, fly fish, living in Manhattan. So I kind of put it on the back burner. And then I was offered a position to move back to California. And when I came back out to California, my parents shipped all my stuff that I had stowed away in their basement, and there's all my fly fishing gear.
Wow.
And it was at a time where I was still working for Thomas, and the job that I moved back to California for didn't really pan out. And I was kind of like on the hunt for something new. And that's when I met Dave Delgado. So that was 16 years ago. I met Dave Delgado, and he offered me a job, and he basically approached it as, hey, do you want a life? And I was like, what's a life?
Yeah, right.
And he's like, you'd be working more 9 to 5 and have time to start a family and all this. And I had a great girlfriend at the time, and I was like, all right, let's do this. And took that job, started a family, got married, had a kid. And in the process was going to Puda Creek a whole bunch more. Got invited on my first saltwater fishing trip to go to Ascension Bay.
Nice.
And that was my entrance into the rabbit hole of saltwater fly fishing, which really has been the longest journey that I've taken, that I'm still on.
There's so many different species you can target in the salt, right? I mean, it's just
there are
places to travel. Yeah.
And having an experience where I still wasn't like a very good caster yet, not proficient at it, and then being put on a flat with a very serious flats guide yelling at me, don't you know where your fly is? No, I have no clue where my fly is.
I don't know how to get it where you want it. I can get it out there.
I don't even see the fish that you keep saying you're seeing. I don't even see them.
Right.
Like my introduction was bone fishing, and actually had a shot at a permit on that trip too. That did not end well for me.
Very exciting.
So that was really kind of like how I had cooking as a passion already in my life, and fishing was like a subdued passion, and then fly fishing really brought that out of passion to life in me.
So what was the inspiration for Travel Creel? How did those two things mesh into what you're doing today?
So a friend of mine has an outfitting company, AC Fly Fishing, out of Reading, and Anthony had approached me about helping him with a travel trip, going to Louisiana for redfish, and was like, you want to come along and you can go fishing and you'd cook for everybody? And I'm like, yeah, dude, like I get to basically go to do this saltwater trip for free,
Right.
get to do some fishing, and all I got to do is cook. Like, I can handle that. So it was a great introduction to travel and hospitality with travel. And I did it for a few years with him. We would do it every year. We'd set it all up. And
So he would just do like one international trip a year kind of thing?
yeah, it was one trip that I did with him.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And the whole thing is with saltwater fly fishing, there's no guarantee. With all fishing, there's no guarantee.
Right.
Right? When you're in the business of creating experiences for people, you got to work on your controllables. And the controllables are hospitality and a good bed to sleep in, nice meal. All those things are controllable when the fishing's not.
Right.
And that was like the premise behind it. That's what we talked about a lot and why it worked. And it made sense to me. And I was able to kind of excel in that world of knowing how to talk to fishermen, because I was one of them.
Right.
On top of being able to create a great meal for them. And it just made a really good vibe in the lodge.
It's great. Yeah. And now Travel Creel came to life. Tell everybody what Travel Creel is. What do you do?
Yeah. So basically right around when COVID started, we had a trip to Louisiana planned. And what happened is we had the guides lined up, the lodge lined up, and then the clients bailed out because of COVID.
Oh, wow.
And we kind of hit the panic button a little bit. What are we going to do? And I was like, let me reach out to all. One thing that I stepped in the middle, missed a step in the middle of this.
Okay.
While I first started working at Del Dado, and I had a kid and I got married, I transitioned into guiding because it was a way for me to go fishing still and make money.
Right.
And my wife would be like, yeah, you can go because you're making money. So I bought a drift boat. I learned how to row a drift boat. And I started on my weekends going up to Redding and guiding the Sac for trout.
Gotcha.
And ended up getting a permit on the Trinity River and guiding the Trinity. And then that led to me guiding for coastal steelhead as well. So here, and the whole premise behind my guiding business was I can't guarantee you're going to catch a bunch of fish when we go steelhead fishing, but I guarantee you're going to have a great lunch.
Great time, yeah.
And a lot of my clients were just like, that's what we're about. We're about having a great time on the water.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
I built this client base on guys that just wanted to go steelhead fishing and understood steelhead fishing and understood that it was about being in the right place at the right time, but knowing that they were going on a trip where they're going to have a great experience with me on the water.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So I
had all these clients, right? So I told Anthony, I was like, listen, let me reach out to some of my guys and see if I can put together this group and we can still go. And I literally in like 24 hours got the trip filled up.
Oh, wow.
And that's when it kind of clicked in my head. Like, maybe this is something I should be doing.
Right.
Maybe I could change my role from being just the guy that goes along and fishes and cooks to the guy who puts the trips together, and then really step up the hospitality.
Yeah, take that killer lunch and turn it into a killer experience. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where Travel Creel was born.
Gotcha.
It was like, I want to create a business where I can create these experiences, not just in Louisiana, but all over the country, possibly all over the world, and take people and create what I call the pop-up fishing lodge.
Perfect.
Where I find a great house, I go and I explore that area first and meet the guides and build relationships with the guides, build relationships with lodge owners or people that own houses that I can use, and then seek out where to purchase food and to get provisions to be able to do the style of food that I like to do and be able to use local ingredients and support the local culture, and then come back, put together a package, send it out to my client base and say, all right, who wants to go do this amazing trip to Maine for striped bass?
Right.
And we got a great house right on the water, and we're going to go fish for striped bass for 4 days and 5 nights accommodations, put a package together. And that's really what I started with. I did my first trip with Travel Creel exclusively last year to Oregon for steelhead up in Tillamook.
Nice.
We have an awesome house in Pacific City, right on the estuary of the Nestucca River.
Beautiful. And
hooked up with 8 guys from a Rotary Club in San Diego that wanted to go do it. And we flew them into Portland. We shuttled them out to the house. We took them steelhead fishing for 4 days and treated them like kings and fed them until they all told me they gained 5 pounds on this trip.
So you fished pretty much in the last little over a year, I guess. Have you been all over the world, or is it mostly U.S.?
I've done quite a bit in Mexico.
Yep.
And like I literally last night just got back from the Bahamas.
Nice.
Because this same group of guys from the Rotary Club in San Diego had asked me to do a tropical trip, and they had their eyes set on the Bahamas. So I've been talking to some lodge owners and guides in the Bahamas for the last year. And we put together a trip, and I got to visit all of them, and it was awesome. So now I have to put together everything and present it to these guys and get them in on this trip here.
Very cool. Yeah. We should let everybody know as we're talking that Joshua's out for a walk with his daughter and dog. So that's why you hear activity in the background.
Yeah, a little bit of activity going on here.
Yeah, snacks, I'm sure.
Absolutely, always snacks.
Hey, do you have a dog? As an outdoor lover, I'm guessing you do, and you love your dog like a child. I want to introduce you to Wolfgang Man and Beast. They design premium dog leashes, leads, collars, harnesses, and pet accessories, plus custom hats and accessories for millennial pet parents. I've known Todd and the Wolfgang team for over 10 years. Through all of their adventures growing up in the West, the members of the Wolfgang team were constantly flanked by faithful, loyal, and furry best friends. While they were fishing, climbing trees, building skate ramps, or hanging out at home watching TV, those dogs were there as partners, guardians, and shadows. Neither furry friends nor humans would have it any other way. Career-wise, they're all product people, having been responsible for bringing thousands of products of all descriptions to market. Headphones to hoodies, backpacks to boomboxes, watches, wallets, headwear, and footwear. They've been lucky enough to work on some very cool products over the past couple decades. And as they laid plans for what would become Wolfgang, they sought to combine two of their favorite things, their beloved dogs and the process of creating world-class products. Wolfgang was created to celebrate the unique bond between dogs and their people. They offer American-made leashes, collars, and harnesses for your pup using only the finest American textiles. Unparalleled American craftsmanship ensures supreme quality and years of enjoyment. They build their products domestically, transport them minimally, and they'll be replaced rarely. Visit theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/Wolfgang and get your pup a new leash or collar today. I see leaps into your arms from across the room and wet, slobbery kisses in your future. Now, back to the show. So what are some of the most, let's start with most exotic places that you've taken a group to and kind of had to camp cook kind of thing?
I haven't really done much camp cooking as far as these trips go. I try to make them a little bit more upscale.
Gotcha.
Where I try to find like a nice place for everyone to congregate. Most recently, I think probably the out there place has been San Carlos in Baja for fishing for rooster fish and marlin, doing blue water. And it's kind of like the Wild West of Baja. It's like old school Baja. And as far as like logistics go for me and putting a trip together, it's probably been the most challenging, but most rewarding at the same time. So I was able to find an importer that imports through some resources. I found a guy that imports all like the fine ingredients from the States to go to the hotels in Cabo.
Oh, okay.
And was able to kind of hook up with Fred, and I put an order together of items that he can procure. And I also put a box or two together of the ingredients I like to work with, and I ship them to him in San Diego, and he gets them across the border for me. Gotcha. But then there's how do we meet up once we're there?
Right.
Because where San Carlos is kind of off the beaten path. It's the closest airport is Loreto, which is like 2.5 hours away. And he's in Cabo, and he only delivers to Loreto like once a week. And how are we going to meet up with the truck? And so the first time I did the trip, it was, all right, so where are we meeting the truck? And it was a lot of these back and forth, like, okay, we're going to meet at this parking lot in La Paz. Right. And okay. And we set out early in the morning, and the boys that at the lodge, the Los Locos boys that I work with, were like, good luck, man.
Yeah, right.
Hope you can get it done.
Hope to see you later. Yeah.
Yeah. And sure enough, we showed up at this parking lot at the same time as the truck, and we're like, oh my God, how cool is this? And we unloaded the truck, and everything was there, we thought. except they forgot a couple things in Cabo.
Oh.
And we're like, great.
Important things or just minor?
Yeah, I mean, some pretty important things. And it was like my 2 boxes of food that I had shipped to San Diego.
Wow. Plan B.
And I was like, okay, so what are we doing now? And like, Fred's like, we can send another truck up with that stuff, but you got to wait like an hour and a half. We're like, that's good because we're going to do some shopping while we're here. And we went and explored La Paz and actually found a restaurant supply place, which was great. So we bought a bunch of awesome equipment. And it all worked out in the end. It all worked out great.
That's good.
And then the last trip we did, they were actually en route to La Paz or to Loreto. So we actually met up with them in Constitution, which is only 45 minutes from San Carlos. So,
nice.
So every time we do it, it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. And we're probably going to get better at it as we go.
Oh, of course. And you'll probably, I mean, is your plan to have places that, maybe 7 or 8 places that are just your meat and potatoes, so you go there back and forth and frequently and yeah.
Yeah, right now, if you go to the website, I think there's 7 locations we're 100% in on.
Gotcha.
There's the East Cape of Baja for roosterfish, and then there's the Pacific side of Baja for marlin, and there's roosterfish and Dorado and all that blue water fishing over there. The Bahamas is a new one I'm excited to add to the list. We got Maine for stripers.
Cool.
We got Colorado on the Gunnison River for trout.
Yeah.
We got New Orleans, of course, which is where I started with all this.
Oh, nice. Redfish?
Yeah, redfish. But I changed the program up a little bit, which is when we used to do the trip there, one of the things that kind of bummed me out as a host is like we take these guys all the way across the country, a lot of guys coming from California or from all over the country, and we fly them into New Orleans, and they get off the plane and hop in a vehicle and go down to Hopedale, and they're sitting in the bayou staring at 4 walls or watching football on TV, and they're missing out on all the culture that city has.
Right.
And I know it's scary to bring a bunch of guys and throw them on the streets in New Orleans to go have fun and drink and party.
Yeah.
But I think I'm taking some respectable guys that aren't going to get themselves in too much trouble. So we're running a program this year where we have a house in the city, and it's only a 40-minute ride out to Hopedale. So
there you go. Yeah.
We'll run the shuttles every day, and everyone gets to come back to the lodge and have an early dinner, and then go out and have a cocktail and go see some live jazz and go see all the crazies in the French Quarter if they want to.
Right.
So
that'll be cool. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that trip. I got a couple weeks planned with that this year, and all the clients I have signed up are like really great clients of mine, and I'm really excited to show them all.
Very fun.
The city. A lot of them haven't been there yet. So
that's a great city. My niece went to college at Tulane, so I went down there.
It's a lot of fun, and the fishing's fishing, right?
Yep.
You could have Mother Nature come in and bring a storm in, or the water could get muddied up or things like that with some wind. But as far as like experiences go, there's so many cool experiences to have.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place to go. Yeah.
So when the fishing's fired up, it's fired up.
It is. That's right. It's hot. Yeah, that's right. So in addition to all your cooking mentors, what about some of the fishing mentors that have helped you along the way?
That's a good one. Obviously, working with Anthony at AC's, he's taught me a lot of great stuff. I was lucky enough to hire Ernie Dennison many years ago from the Fly Shop to take me on a float on the lower Sac. With that time, it was my girlfriend, my now wife, and we spent a day with him on the water, or 2 days with him on the water. And he tells everyone I'm one of 2 people he took off the client list and put on the friend list. And he's been an outstanding mentor to me, and just taught me a lot about reading water, understanding habitat, rowing the boat better, all that kind of stuff.
That's a skill in its own self.
Yeah, and then other than that, I think like mentorship to me at this point has been everywhere I go. I really rely on whoever is my local connections to kind of teach me about it. So everyone's kind of played a little bit of a mentorship role for me, and I think it goes both ways. Like I'm there to share a little mentorship as an operator, and someone teaching them about hospitality, and they're teaching me the hospitality they offer on the water and how they guide that area and how they fish that area. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure when I do these trips is that I'm not on the water fishing while my clients are on the water fishing.
Right, exactly.
That I'm back on the ground, making sure that when they get off the water, everything's taken care of for them.
That's smart. That's perfect. Yeah, it's got to be dialed in. You can't fish. You can't do all of the things at once. I mean,
I tried.
Yeah.
All those early years going to Hopedale and fishing in New Orleans and Louisiana. I tried to go fishing every day, and I would just scramble to get these meals put together.
Right.
And I'd be exhausted.
Yeah.
And I'd finally have a cocktail and go and pass out. And then all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, I got to get up and make breakfast for everybody.
Right.
And it was like back to being a cook, being a grind where, that chef grind is working at a restaurant, going in early, getting there 10, 11 in the morning, setting your station up, working a busy service, getting out of the kitchen around 11 or 12 and going to the bar. And
this sounds like a grind. My God.
It's a grind. It's a grind. Yeah, it's a grind. And I kind of slipped back into that grind with doing this travel stuff and realized that, gosh, I need to work smarter, not harder.
That makes sense.
And I found a way to do that now. And I've been able to kind of spend more time building relationships with people on the ground. And I tell you what, it's helped. Like the Oregon trip last year, I really wanted to incorporate some local seafood and not going fishing for the day and driving around and meeting some of the local fishermen and finding the best oysters and finding the best razor clams and finding all this local seafood was it was so cool.
Yeah. It makes the trip better too for your clients. Yeah.
It does. And, I built some relationships on that trip that I'm still using here, and I'm ordering oysters from them, and they're shipping them to me in California.
Perfect.
So,
yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it still word of mouth, or how do you market the business?
So I started with just the clients that I have, and it's only as good as the last trip I did, and every little trip I do, the word travels. And I have a client then tell 4 or 5 of his buddies and say, you got to come with me on this next trip. And then those guys tell their friends, and it's a lot of word of mouth.
There you go. Yeah.
I have a great website.
Yeah, it's a nice website.
Yeah. So Mike Kaplan, who I met in San Diego many years ago, he was working for Hatch Reels. I met him on the beach fishing for Corbina.
Nice.
And we started talking about this business idea, and I was struggling with getting my website together, and he offered his help. And he helped me put together a great website. We've had a little bit of some outreach through the website. A little more and more all the time.
You got a newsletter, so that'll help. Yeah.
Yeah, 3-4% response is like a good response rate. And so we're getting some responses through that. And then social media, of course, is key to a lot of outreach these days. I mean, you post some cool pictures and you put some cool hashtags on it.
Right.
And all of a sudden get more followers and people reaching out to you. And then that gets more traffic to the website, and it all works together. But I'd say the biggest is word of mouth. Really, that's how it's been for me with my cooking career too.
Oh, interesting.
Which is, it's not about what you know, it's who you know sometimes, and how that network of people start talking. In the restaurant industry, they always say, I've always heard from my mentors in the restaurant industry, if you give a bad experience or you give a great experience to a guest, they're going to tell 5 or 10 of their friends. You give a bad experience to them, they're going to tell 20.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that too.
So, that right there has been like in the back of my mind all the time, is like, I'm just giving good experiences, and giving the better experiences I give to people, the more people will start talking about it, and the more people are interested.
Keep delivering. So, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And the other part is I have a really great network of friends that are in the fly fishing industry that are all very supportive of what I'm doing. A lot of independent guides. I mean, you and I are talking today because of Neil.
Shout out to Dave. Great guy.
Yeah, he's a great friend and independent guide, and supports what I do and has eaten my food and loves it. And someone like that, I can reach out to him with a trip and be like, hey, listen, I got 2 spots left to fill in this trip.
Right.
And if you fill those spots, then I'll throw you a bone.
Yeah, exactly.
And that kind of stuff is really helpful too. And it's come into play quite a few times.
That's perfect. Do you also work with any fly shops?
I have been working with George Revelle at Lost Coast Outfitters in San Francisco. So he basically puts together all the lists of gear and everything.
Okay.
So
Nice.
he helps me put a list together. I send it out to clients, and then they get to contact George directly or the shop.
Perfect.
And get all those items they need for a trip. And in turn, it's a very simple partnership where he helps me put those lists together. I promote him and he helps me fill seats. So he'll send out, if I have a trip coming up and I'm like, dude, I need to fill this many seats, he'll send out an email to all the clients on his list that he knows would be interested in that. So it's a good symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, quid pro quo. That's perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
So you sound pretty busy with the family and the business. Do you get to do any other outdoor activities? Do you get to anything you participate in? Probably not.
My kids have been wanting to go snowboarding this year, and we're probably going to get up there and do that.
Nice.
I'll spend a little time on the mountain. Yeah. But a lot of everything we do is right here. We live in Sonoma County, and we have a big boat that we take out on the lake or we take out in the bay.
Oh, cool.
And kids like to go be pulled around in a tube or go water skiing.
Oh, fun.
I have two boys. One's 12, one's 8, and then a 22-month-old daughter. And we try to get out on the boat as much as we can when there's nice weather. And we love bike rides. We do a little hiking here and there. So, yeah, there's some activities we do. We all like to go ice skating. My oldest boy plays ice hockey. So we all like to get out on the ice. We actually took Lydia out on the ice the other day. And she actually, by the end of a 2-hour session, she was kind of getting it and holding herself up, which was pretty amazing.
That's awesome. Yep. And do you have any suggestions or advice for folks wanting to get into the fly fishing biz or outdoor?
I think just get out there and experience it and get on the water. And you don't know until you go. You got to get out there and experience it and meet people and network and whatever. If you're looking to be a guide, get on that water and learn from the guys that know the water the best.
Yep.
And obviously learn how to row a boat if you're going to be running a drift boat.
Exactly.
I got a story about that too. I crashed a drift boat at one point because I thought I knew what I was doing.
Oh, I went to river guide school on the American River, and I thought I knew what I was doing and flipped my first boat. So we've all got that story.
We're in the same club. And you know what? Another mentor that I'll give a shout out to is John Barry, who owned a guide service called Kalaska Guide Service here in Northern California for years.
Nice.
And he was on the Yuba River with me the day I flipped my boat and helped me out and handed me a card and said, when you get your boat out of the river and you're ready to learn how to row, give me a shout. And he used to give me a hard time about crashing my boat all the time, but then he'd always follow it up by saying, it's going to happen to all of us at some point somewhere along the line. And he gave me a hard time for years. And then it was probably 5 or 6 years after that, he called me. He just said, I can't give you shit anymore, Josh.
You got it dialed.
What happened? He goes, I sank my boat today.
Oh, sank it. Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah, he got it out, but he sank it.
Oof.
And it's fun. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Oh, yeah, when. Yep, yep. I had clients, first rapid, flipped. So we all learn. It's a great learning experience.
As long as no one gets hurt.
That's it. Yep, it's all fun. Yep.
Yep.
How about daily routines? Do you have any daily routines to keep your sanity? It sounds like you get a lot of playtime with the kids and the dogs.
Yeah, and the thing is, working at the winery is about a 45-minute ride for me. So I'd say as far as daily routines is getting in my truck and turning on some music and driving 45 minutes over the hill, a beautiful drive over through vineyards and the rolling hills here. And in that 45-minute ride to and from work, I accomplish more in my head than I do accomplish when I'm at home or at work. I think about it gives me a chance to clear my head. It gives me a chance to think about ideas. A lot of people ask me when do you have time to come up with ideas for some of your new dishes and stuff? I'm like, most of those ideas come to me while I'm driving to or from work.
Yeah, perfect. And do you jot them? Do you have a way of writing them down, or you just happen to be able to one of those guys that can remember them?
Oh, ideas?
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll have an idea, and most of the time I remember them, or a lot of times I'll pull the truck over and text my sous chef.
No, there you go.
Hey, order this, or we need to do this tomorrow.
Oh, that's cool.
I had an idea to make this better.
Yeah, right on. That's great.
Kind of reach out to my support system when I have an idea and say, hey, while it's fresh in my mind, let's let's work through this one.
Yeah, it's good to make this happen. That's awesome.
Yep.
Do you read a lot? Do you have any favorite books? Books to give as gifts?
My mom was an English teacher, and when you presented that question in email, I was like, I can't wait to get to it. My mom was an English teacher, and I was kind of pushed to read as a kid, and it made me not want to read as much. So, like, I can't say I'm an avid reader, but there are some. I'd say the most recent book that I read is Lords of the Fly.
Good one.
And to me, that book sucked me right into that story, and I actually got to go to Homosassa last year and meet some of the players in that book.
Very cool.
And that was really cool. And like, for me, sitting and reading a novel or something like that has never been something that I've had the patience for, even though I have a lot of patience in other avenues in my life.
That makes sense, yeah.
But like, reading has not been one of them.
Not high on the list.
I need the experience.
You'll get that too as your kids get older. You'll read to them and they'll read to you, I'm sure. And maybe that's already happening. But
It's crazy because both my boys are huge readers.
Yeah,
I mean, they have their noses in books all the time. And I have been handed down a huge collection of cookbooks. I mean, enormous collection of cookbooks.
Right.
And people ask me all the time, do you like use those cookbooks for inspiration? And it's interesting. Since I was a little kid, I would sit down with a cookbook and page through it and kind of read a little bit here, look at some pictures, read a little bit there. And then I'd close the book and go in the kitchen and cook. I would never sit there.
So you have one of those photographic memories. You can just go do it.
I don't know if it's photographic, but it would just get my creative juices flowing.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, very cool.
I would never sit there with a book propped open in the kitchen following a recipe. This is not my style at all.
Yeah. I'm going to change this next question since I always ask your favorite outdoor gear purchase under $100. But since you're a cook, is there a favorite gear or a piece of gear that all of us that cook outside should have in our camp kitchen?
Yeah, I think everyone should have a Japanese mandolin.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, and
why?
They're not expensive. They're like $30. You can get them on Amazon. Watch your fingers because they're sharp. But like, it just is a game changer, especially when you're not in the home kitchen. Like if you're doing some outdoor cooking, then you can slice a cucumber or carrot, whatever, like within seconds.
Okay.
And it adds to being able to work quicker and more efficiently when chopping onions or shallots, like that. So
I'll look that up. I don't even know what that is, so I'll look that up.
Yeah, it's a plastic mandolin with like a metal blade that goes across.
Okay, cool.
And you can adjust the depth of it, and it also comes with some like teeth that you can put in, so you can make like fine julienne or thick julienne.
All right, we'll link to that in the show notes. That's a good one. We never use that on the Kern River.
Yeah, it's a good piece to have, and it's flat, so it doesn't take up a ton of
perfect.
space either.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. As we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to say to our listeners?
I'm just really stoked to be here talking to you about what I'm doing, and if anyone's interested in doing a fun adventure and has a passion for fishing and fine food and great company, to look us up and check out what we're doing.
The website is
Travel Creel Hospitality, or it's travelcreel.com.
Travelcreel.com. We'll link to that in the show notes. And we got to get together with Dave and put together something ourselves up there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Dave and I are actually been talking about doing some stuff on the Fall River this spring.
Oh, cool. All right. Awesome.
Yeah, we got access to a pretty cool spot, the old Spinner Fall Lodge up on the Fall River.
Oh, perfect. Beautiful.
And then I think Dave's going to help us out with one of the weeks we have put together. And it'll be great to be hanging out with Dave again. It's been a while.
He's a great guy. Yeah, I miss him. I didn't hang out with him a lot, but saw him a lot down here. So he's a good dude. Yeah,
we used to spend quite a bit of time. There's a bunch of us when we were guiding the Trinity that would stay in a little double wide trailer down in Douglas City. And we all bonded pretty good.
I've heard stories about that trailer.
Yep. Dave, we all had great times in that trailer. It was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Joshua, it's been great to hear your story. I look forward to sharing it with the audience and catching up with you on a river soon.
Sounds good, Rick. It was a pleasure as well. And to all you listeners, check us out. And anytime you have any questions about cooking, man, you can always hit me up.
Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend about the show. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Sayes.